dreaming. The purpose for the dreaming is to discover your purpose and to discover why you're here. The purpose that the what's not the purpose for dreaming is to open up your spiritual abilities or to have fun mystical experiences. Sometimes that happens and sometimes that doesn't. Sometimes we get more feelings and knowingness than we get anything else, especially in the beginning. Sometimes we go through the dreaming and it takes many, many months. So don't give up. It takes many months to get true progress in becoming a dream walker. So you can't give up. When you make that sort of commitment to yourself, you're going to be doing this work every day. And if you're just quick to give up because you didn't get something in 30 days, that's just kind of someone looking for the icing on the cake and not actually eating the cake, right? We need you to put the ingredients together and bake the cake and eat the cake. And that icing is the mystical experience. So you're not often going to get the mystical experience first. Right. So that's just me being very realistic with you is that I want you to try this for 30 days. Yeah, 30 days before you go to bed or before you meditate. Try it out. Try it out. And before you say it doesn't work, go through it. Put the ingredients in your life together to find meaning. Do the practices. Put the cake in the oven, take the cake out, eat the cake daily. That's your spiritual practice. And then eventually that icing that you are longing for with the mystical experiences and spiritual experiences will come. Some people are waiting on evidence of mystical experiences before they even start putting their ingredients together and putting the cake in the bundt pan and putting it in the oven, right? That's not going to work in the dreaming. We need commitment, practice, and time, trust, devotion to it, right? These are the things that make for powerful mystical experiences as a dream walker. So, here are the stages. Here are the ingredients. These are simple ingredients to this dream walking cake. Gratitude. You can't go into the dreaming because you hate your life. Gratitude is the grace that you need to ask for, right? Because many people are suffering right now. And when we tap into gratitude, we can start to say, hey, I'm looking at my life with gratitude. I actually appreciate my life. Because when you can't appreciate how it's trying to come together to get you to that next place of your expansion and your growth, when you can't appreciate that those things are happening for positive reasons, even if you don't understand it, even when it feels difficult, then basically you develop a powerful density of resentment, anger, hatred, inner criticism, shame, blame, doubt, right? All of that comes in instead positive, powerful, clear dreaming, right? Not to mention so many other things that can come from being a resentful person, so many other physical and mental maladies. So we want to be invoking gratitude on a daily basis. In order to get into the dreaming, we have to become a grateful person, a grateful human being. Number two, realize that you are here for a special reason. Right. I know, of course, the miracle says we're not special, but quite frankly, it's an outdated teaching in this era. That one part of it is an outdated teaching in a modern era. And here's why. We've been told we're not special for the past decade with oneness teachings. And if we hear it one more time, we're either going to cry or punch a wall. People are tired of hearing that they're not special. It doesn't feel good. If you're not special, why the hell would you be in this boot camp powerful mastery course called Earth? You are here because your soul has mastered something. Your soul is special. And you know, and oneness teachings will say, well, no more special than anyone else. Well, true, but not so true in terms of you're here and you're trying and you're mastering it and you're looking for these reasons and the special reasons. And when you start striving and seeking for that purpose, and you recognize that you do at least have a spark of life in you, and you know that you do have something special to offer in this world to other people, you will begin to recognize that your real job here, the real purpose is just to figure that out, just to figure out your calling. So when you're going through the dreaming, the first stage is gratitude, and the second stage is to ask for a divine memory of your calling. I invoke a divine memory of my soul's calling. Are you writing that one down? First invocation, I invoke gratitude. Say that whenever you're pissed. Say that when your day is not going well and you don't feel connected at all. But when you're getting really deeply ready to go into the dreaming, one of the things you want to do is to invoke a divine memory of your soul's calling. Okay? Yeah. Someone said, "Is cake supposed to taste bitter sometimes?" Um, I don't know. Everybody makes their cake a little differently. I think bitter is an interesting judgment, is the best way I can say to that. Like, cake is food that we require to live, right? Like in this analogy. If the cake is the food, we're not waiting on the icing. The icing's what's sweet. We're just hungry for something. We're spiritual seekers. We're seeking that true soul calling. So when you invoke it before you meditate or before you go to sleep, and you ask for that. I invoke a divine memory of my soul's calling. Write that down. I invoke a divine memory of my soul's calling. Then you're not thinking about if the cake is bitter or sweet. When you're hungry, it fills you up. You just want to be filled up and not so hungry all the time for God. When we think that the cake is bitter, the reason why we think that is because the dreaming can be bitter. And what we really need is that essence of God, that spark of God consciousness to invigorate and enlighten the soul to find a true calling. That is the reason for the dreaming. You understand? That is the reason. When you go into it with that, everything you're going to get from the dreaming has deep divine meaning. Okay. The third thing I need you to be aware of, you're going to be face to face with conflict because of the dreaming. You're not going to like that. But let spirit resolve issues with adversaries, whether they're human adversaries, entity adversities. Entities are only expressions of how deeply painful your life has become, how deeply sad or angry or afraid that you are. It's only that. It's an energy manifestation. So you might get entities, what you consider both good or bad in your judgments, but they are there. These are what we call adversities in the dreaming. And you need to let your spirit resolve that. Your spirit's going to work with these entities in a way that you aren't afraid and you're not trying to cast out. You're literally going to work with everything that comes to you and through you. It is for you. We're not casting anything away, no matter what comes. You have to be bold for this kind of work. If you go into the dreaming and you're terrified of your entities, remember that because of the law of oneness, which is true in universal and cosmic law, everything you see is you or an extension of you. Everything you see is love or is a call for more love. And if you can't love, there is forgiveness. And when you can't forgive, there is compassion. Right? So those are more of the laws of grace that apply to the dreaming. Everything is either love that you see in the dreaming or it is a call for love. And when you can't love what you see, forgive it. When you can't forgive what you see, give compassion to it. And compassion doesn't have to involve understanding, right? Or agreeing, right? But you need to let spirit resolve your issues with adversities. So now we talked about spiritual adversities. We need to talk about human adversities. You're going to become more face to face with all of your fears when it comes to your loved ones. You're going to come more face to face with how you've held yourself back. You're going to come face to face to your own blocks because spirit's trying to push you through them in the dreaming. You thought the dreaming was going to be all fun, huh? Well, you get there, but we have to do this first. We have to face the blocks in the dreaming before anything fun and all that stuff can happen. So you'll begin to see how certain people and circumstances are helping you grow. You'll begin to learn about yourself and discover why you are meant to have certain circumstances in your life. And as opposed to praying to make it better or meditating to make it better, you'll begin to look at it with a bird's eye view, to look at your pain and to look at people around you that cause it or that you think cause it. And you're going to be able to say, oh, I'm going to let that sink in. I'm going to work with that in the dreaming. I'm going to begin to understand the calling involved in the circumstance that is adversarial, as opposed to trying to make it better, trying to make it different, or pushing it away, denying it, avoiding it, blocking it, getting rid of it, all that. The fourth thing, I need you to work with it and let it sink in. You need to work with everything that you've discovered in the dreaming for at least 24 hours, preferably 48 or 72. So you're going to have one dreaming experience, even if it's mild. Typically, the first dreaming experience will either blow your mind and you're like, oh, this is how it's going to be. And then you love it. And then maybe the next one will be a little bit, meh. And then the next one will be a little bit like, really? The whole dreaming was just about me being afraid of that spider? One of my kids is working through, like, he has really powerful dreams. And sometimes, they're during the very few moments that he wants to open up to me about them, he'll tell me. And this morning, he happened to ride with me in the car, which is very unusual, while taking my other kiddo to school. And he said, Mom, you don't believe this dream I had about this spider. And I'm like, oh God, you're back in that again. Right? Because he's had these scares of spiders. Like, he just screams when he sees spiders in the shower room. And we live out west. The spiders are everywhere. They follow him. Like, he'll see a spider and he doesn't get like the little ones that I see that come around. He when he sees a spider in his living human life, he sees the biggest ones in the house, and he'll typically be like in the shower or some very vulnerable position when he sees them, and he happens to look up and see this massive, you know, brown recluse, like just crawling around on top of the ceiling, looking at him. He's terrified of the brown recluse and the wolf spider and the black widow and all the things that are really prevalent in the West. And I guess he must have seen a spider recently because he had this massive dream. And he said, I was trying to get rid of the spider, but it was chasing me around. Then suddenly it got bigger and it started going like 9 miles per hour, zooming around, trying to get me. And he said, and then I just stopped and I said, okay. This is what he said. Okay, just come on then. And then the spider just kind of shriveled into a little thing and it became a heart on the floor. That's a really powerful example of what an appropriate dreaming experience would look like, right? And you can tell it seems literal, but really you have to ask yourself, could that be literal just because he's afraid of spiders? No. And the spider represents a unique poison that he runs from. And when he finally faces it for himself and says, fine then, come get me, let's go. And then the poison turns into the heart. So it was likely heart chakra stuff. It was likely something about love and accepting love or self love or something lacking, that he needs to really look at. So that's one example of the dreaming. So you need to let it sink in. He's probably going to be working with that one for a few days. And um, you need to feel the energy that's going on there in the dreaming and whether you like it or not, whether it feels good or not, as opposed to thinking, well, this is how it's supposed to work out. Um, you start looking more deeply into it. All right. Um, the first stage is the invocation. Well, the first stage is just learning to feel gratitude. The second stage is invoking your soul's calling. You need to do that every night before you sleep or anytime you meditate where you want to put your other foot in the world of the dreaming. You need to ask for your calling. When you're asking for your calling and you're continually seeking it, when you're seeking your calling, you are seeking your soul. You begin to learn your divine blueprint, why you are specifically here. All right. The third thing you need to do, and this is just specific to my teachings, I don't know what anyone else is doing, but in the deepest mysteries of Kabbalah, you work with the kingdoms of God within you. All right. So, how many people here understand the tree of life a little bit? Just visualize it. This is your tree. All right. right here. I like to just visualize it out in front of me or sometimes superimpose it above my body. I like to visualize them as spears because the unfortunate talks a lot about spears and the kingdoms looking like spears. But what is unique to me is that when I'm working with a kingdom, and we'll get there in a minute with which ones are what and what they do, I like to recognize that kingdoms are doorways into the dreaming. So much like if you look down at Malkuth here, if you can see it, it looks like a little doorway. She really inspired me when I looked at her version of the tree and that little arch there. I began to put doorways inside of all of the kingdoms, and that is my fourth step. I visualize a doorway, right?